Okay guys, so now that we have talked about Ohm's law, let's get to doing some exercises. For starters, we can get to the formula, which is E over I times R. This is your basic Ohm's law formula. So if you see, for example, you're trying to find I, you go, I'm trying to find I, so therefore it will be E over R. You trying to find R will be E over I. If you're trying to find E, it will be I times R. So let's get to doing some exercises. If you're trying to become an electrician anywhere in the United States, basically anywhere in the world, this is the most basic, most fundamental, but most important part of Ohm's law. And this is the shortest chart for finding Ohm's law. Now we got the full spectrum chart of finding Ohm's law, which is basically, you can go something like this, something like that. So you can start with P for power, I for amps, R for resistance, and E for voltage. And that's your more comprehensive chart for finding Ohm's law. From here, we go full spectrum of formulas, which is basically that. And for example, to find power, you can go voltage square over R. To find power, you can also go E times I. Again, to find power, you can go I squared times R. To find amps, you can go, for example, square root of power over resistance. Again, if you're trying to find amps, you can go power over voltage. Again, third way to find an amps is voltage over resistance. Now, we try to find voltage. We can go square root of power times R. Again, trying to find voltage, we can go I times R. Or we can go power over amps. Last but not least, we got resistance. For that, we can go amps square times R. Or, again, to find R, we can go voltage over amps square, or voltage squared over power. This is the most complete spectrum of formulas or chart defined in Ohm's law. This is, you can call it the absolute necessary. You don't have to memorize everything, but try to, you know, practice from time to time the basic four, which basically will be P over EI, E times I, P, you know, R, E over I squared, E, I times R. But it's good to know, because when you get to the motor parts, like installing generators, AC compressors, robotics, you know, anything motor related, you're gonna need to know P, which is power. And power is gonna give you your starting current, which is I, your full load current, or FLA, of the motor, which translates to I. And with I, you need to calculate with the appropriate voltage, E, what kind of circuit, as far as wire size, fuse size, overload size, driver size. For example, if you're trying to um, get or install a frequency drive for anything motor related, it can be conveyors, a lot of other things. You will need to know P to relate to I with the proper E. M, R basically comes in between. Usually R will be known if you know any of these three. So if you properly calculate I with E by knowing P, then normally you shouldn't have any other. But as far as, for example, compressors and big motors, you need to know like starting currents for loads and things like that. But that's a subject for another day. Today we're gonna stick to doing some basic Ohm's law calculations. Okay guys, so for example, we already talked about P. So for example, if you're trying to find P, you need to know what E, for example, times I is. So say you that a modern hair dryer, anything that consumes at 120 volts, which is the house power, 8 amps. So your relationship to power, it's like Ohm's law states, says E times I. So E times I equals 20 volts times 8 equals 960 watts. Okay. Now, so again, we said that P equals E times I. Therefore, P equals just an example, any example. We said that this could be a hair dryer, a TV, a small vacuum, anything. At 120 volts times 8 amps, we have 960 watts of power. Now, for example, we're trying to find I, or amps. And we have P, and we know E. Therefore, I equals, this could be, again, anything, a hair dryer, a microwave oven, anything. For example, we got 1,000 watts over our 120 volts. Now, volt. Therefore, I will be, and let's go to our calculator again. We go, should divide 1,000 watts by 120 volts. You get 8.33 amps. So you start getting the relationship between all these formulas. It looks complicated, but by the time you guys start doing this on a daily basis and practicing and, doing the formulas yourself, you're going to find out that it's very, very easy to grasp. So let's go to another example. Let's go to R. It's fire resistance. For example, we know the power, any power, hair dryer, microwave oven, anything. And we know the current. Therefore, R, for example, equals 1440 watts over, remember, I squared. So for example, 1440 could be like hair dryer, anything, over 12 amps. But since it is square, it's 12 times 12. Therefore, R equals, find out, with our trusty calculator. Equals 10 ohms. Okay. So we know that 1440 divided by 12 squared equals 10 ohms. Now let's go to voltage. Last but not least, for example, we know this probably will never happen, but say you're trying to find E, you can calculate the amperage times the resistance of a circuit. And this will give you, for example, let's use the same numbers. Of the resistance example. So we know that we got E equals 12 amps times 10 ohms. It will equal to 12 times 10, or 120 volts, which is our method in the chart of Ohm's law. So this is the basic. It would be ideal if you practice all of the steps and just exercise your memory, because believe me, there will be a day, you'll never know when, there will be a time when you will need to find the power. And you know the voltage, but you don't know the resistance. You know the amps, but you don't know the voltage. Well, you know the amps, but you don't know the resistance. Or you should take in, for example, the California Journeyman State License test. There will be a couple of questions where they ask you, find amps with P and R. They're not going to give you the chart, so you need to memorize the basic 2 and 2, 2 of each, or all of them if you can. But believe me, there will be a time when they ask you, find amps or find voltage with relationship to power, or find R. You only have power and voltage. Back and forth, back and forth. So you need to exercise your mind on how to do all these formulas. You know, one at a time. Practice 1, 2 every day. Don't beat yourself to the wall trying to memorize everything in 1 hour. It's not going to happen. And the more stressed out you get, the worse you will feel about yourself. But don't give up, you know. Study. If you can study hard, study hard. But we're all different, you know. Taking one step at a time. Practice, for example, today practice calculating the amps. Tomorrow try calculating the voltage formulas. The day after tomorrow try getting resistance. The day after that, power. And after that, calculate everything, at random. Try with the same, same numbers, just um, spread it around. For example, try 480 volts, 20 amps, 8 ohms, 6,000 watts, which is power. This is basically an industrial circuit. And you're gonna see, if you ever go to industrial installations as an electrician, technician, engineer, anything like that, you're gonna see a lot of these numbers. 480, 277, 20 amps. So you, for example, in an industrial setting, you will see 480 volt, 277, at 480, 20 amps, at 277, 10 amps. Most motors are not going to give you the ohms, but you can find that with Ohm's law. And for example, from there, you'll see, I don't know, on the nameplate of motors, you'll see HP or horsepower rating. Most of these numbers, they will be in HP or horsepower rating. That's another part of the question of the California Journeyman State License Test. And you need to know this conversion. So for example, I'm already giving you the numbers here. Well, for example, a motor would tell you it's an HP rating. It will tell you, for example, 18 horsepower. How do we get to that point? We already talked about it in the theory part, which would be 18 horsepower times 746 watts. It would be, for example, 1190 watts. So, this sounds complicated, but basically, horsepower equals watts. And 1 horse power equals 746 watts. Sorry, forgot one T over there. So, there you go, guys. It looks complicated, but practice, practice, practice. Don't give up. It's actually very easy to grasp. And with time, you're going to feel more confident that you're getting the right numbers. With a good calculator, you can do this in basically seconds. And if you understand the theory behind it, you are good to go in becoming an electrician, technician, engineer, anything you want to be. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Thank you to everybody that has subscribed to my channel. And thank you, thank you, thank you. I will see you tomorrow.